What club are you from, Bogdan?
Konstantin.
From club.
Right, this is Konstantin.
Warsaw Konstantin.
Okay, very good. And you have schools that you are connected with, that your club does work with? You have some education connection with the club?
Well, a couple of schools, but also abroad. In Lithuania, for example, we have a cooperation with certain clubs in Vilna and around. And of course, in our area too.
Okay. And do you have any teachers in your club?
Probably yes, in the future, in near future, not exactly right now.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, welcome. I'm glad that you are here with us and we'll be able to hear about the program. Okay, so who is next? We heard about Emilia. Emilia, what club are you from?
I'm not from the club. I'm the wife of former president of Jerzy Gorczyński Club.
All right, very good, very important. Women is the driving force, of course.
Of course.
Okay, very good. So welcome joining us. So who do we have next? Shlomo, you want to present yourself?
1 minute, I present myself. You have here also Anna Stawikowska, Toruń.
Okay, so I can present myself. I'm the chairperson for ICC Poland Israel, and that is why I am here. I'm retired teacher, but I was working with mentally retarded children with profound deficiencies. So, and I also did some educational project for teenagers, but it was connected with discrimination rather than water. But I'm very interested what's going on here, and I'm taking notes and etc.
Very good. Well, we welcome you on board. ICC is an important organization. We're all connected with it. So welcome on board. We are very glad to have you, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Shlomo, it's your turn.
Okay. Dobry wieczór. Nazywam się Broncher Shlomo, członek klubu Rotary Ramla, Dyskryt 2490 Izrael. Prezydentem na lata 2001, 2002, 2013 na 2014. Przewodniczący Komitetu ICC Izrael Polska pomiędzy latami 2013-2017. Przewodniczący Komitetu Spraw Wodnych Izrael Polska od przeszłego roku i członek WOZRAK Water and Sanitation Rotarian Group 2019. Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you.
Okay, we understood every word, so this is okay.
Jacek, the next person.
Welcome. I am from Lublin, as you see on my back, Rotary Club Lublin Centrum. And previous, I was GSE chair in our district, and I was a team leader to two districts. I mean, Hawaii District 5000 and, if I remember, 7610 to Virginia. And now I was 2 times a club secretary, and 1 time I was a president of our club.
Very nice. Okay. And what is your connection with education, if any?
I have no connection with education, but our club cooperates with 1 school in Lublin. This school is a lot of long-term youth exchange in Rotary. A lot of these young students, 1 year in Lublin and in Poland, they spend and they learn more in this school 1 year. So we have good cooperations with 1 school in Lublin.
Very good. Okay, welcome. We are very glad to have you here with us. Okay, Maria, we also have Mauritius, whom we met last time. How are you?
Mariusz, it's
Me.
yes.
Yes.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Good evening. As I told you last time, I am from the same Rotary Club like Jerzy Korczyński, Rotary Club of Łódź. From professional point of view, I am a TV producer, producing TV concerts, festivals, other TV programs. I'm thinking now about producing of some TV documentaries about our problems with climate, with problems with water, and that's why your project is very interesting for me.
Very interesting. Good. It's a good idea that you have a connection with the media and producing. And of course, music is, we have Adam here, who is our expert on music. So you will have a wonderful communication, and that's very good. Okay, and then we have Jakob. Jakob, what can you tell us?
Good evening, ladies. Hi, Emilia. Good evening, all. I'm also from the club from Łódź, and I am a partial lecturer at Technical University of Łódź since 2008. And I am a graduate of this university. And the further connection is that Jerzy used to be my teacher at IFE, Faculty of Engineering.
Okay. And so
And right
what
now
do you
he's
do
my
now?
Rotary teacher.
You are now in academia, you work in the academy, in the university as a researcher?
Well, I'm a lecturer. I'm delivering two courses, basically 4 courses, 2 courses in the summer semester and 2 courses in the winter semester.
And what do you teach?
Operations management. So the 2 subjects I'm proud of, they have very long names. It's creating visual production space, but there is another name which is even longer. This is planning, budgeting, and production cost optimization.
All right, okay.
Don't need to write it. Yeah.
All right, we have to be concerned because you will put us in boxes and in Excel tables.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very
So I'm in
good.
touch
Okay.
with students and Erasmus students. So half of the groups normally, these are people from around Europe. So potentially we can reach not only Polish students, but also people from other countries.
Okay, very good. And you are thinking in terms of involving your students in the programs as coaches and so forth?
I'll try. Yes, I have a kind of a green light from the lady who is a director of International Faculty of Engineering, which is a part of Technical University. So I do hope to go into this direction exactly.
Very, very good. I think there's an excellent opportunity there. We work with all the universities in Israel, the Technion, which you probably heard of, and Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Ben Gurion, all the schools, the big schools in the country, all the universities are connected with our program. So you will find this very interesting. And we're doing some follow-up on research work, and this is interesting. Okay, very good. Did I miss anyone, or did we cover everyone, Marianne? I think we have everyone. Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, so what I will do now is I will try in maybe 20 minutes or maybe less, go through the presentation of the program just because it's the way to go through all the matters. But then I want to stop and listen to questions that you may have. And please feel free to stop me, raise your hand, or make a question. There is one more fellow in the waiting room joining us now. So we will start right away. Okay, so we are actually talking tonight about 2 programs. Because one program is our Rotary Hands Across Water, which we want to present to you. And the other aspect is the twinning program, which we are starting now to work with you, which is a new aspect. So we will talk about a mixture of the 2. We have Teresa that just joined us. Teresa, can you hear us? Teresa, you need to open up your camera so we can see you. Okay, it will take a minute and you will probably join us. Okay, so we will start, and when you are ready, we will have you introduced. Okay, so let me share my screen here with you. and we can use that in order to see what we refer to. Hold on a minute, just 1 second. Okay, so here we go. We share the screen. Okay. Can you see now the screen? Yes, you can. Okay, so I will be very quick, and you tell me if you can see. Hold on a minute. We don't want to do that. We just want to have this screen, and this is enough. Hold on a minute. Okay, so now you can see it nicely, and if I blow this too much, then it is too much on the screen. So can you see the slides now comfortably?
It's all right.
Yes.
Yeah, this is okay. All right. Okay, so we are going on the tour of the Rotary Hands Across Water with the twinning program. And here you can see PRI Barry Rassin visiting a school in Jerusalem, and we will talk about his comments. He was very impressed with the program, as were many others, because we're doing water, we're doing education, we're doing peace collaboration. And so therefore, he said, this is Rotary, what you do here. And so please try to find a way to take it to the world. And this is actually what we're currently doing. So what is the idea behind the twinning program? The idea is that we want to have children in the world aware of the water challenges and the potential solutions. And since we did it in Israel very successfully for over 15 years with 15,000 students, we wanted to somehow duplicate this around the world. But of course, we cannot come from Israel and teach around the world like we do here. So we thought of the possibility of having schools in the world do the same thing as we did in Israel, namely study sciences based on water. And then when they have something to show, when they have some understanding of the situation, then we can team them up with schools in Israel who have been working on the program. And I can tell you that schools in Israel are really very excited about working together. And so then they can meet and compare their impressions of what is the water challenge and what are the solutions. This is more than just a cooperation program. What this will allow is for students to be able to understand the challenge and to be able to understand that there are solutions. So we're not just talking about scaring them and telling them how grave the situation is, but rather be able to show them that there are solutions. The important thing is that it is not impossible to overcome. In fact, it is easy to overcome. You just have to set your mind to it. So this is the goal. So as you see, we're launching the program now, and it's going to be collaboration with schools around the world with the idea that not only teaching and studying science and so forth, which we will talk about, but we have a motivation. And the motivation is very important. We're telling the children that their future is dependent on the environment in general and on water as part of it, and that they can take action, that there are solutions. So they become very engaged because we're talking about their future in their hands. We are really only supporting them. So this is very different than just teaching mathematics, where they don't quite understand why they need to know equations and unknowns and second order and parabolas and they don't know what the practical aspect of it is. But when you teach them physics and the forces and the energy, and then you give them an example of how much energy you need in a desalination or in a pumping station, they understand how it relates to their life, and then they understand the numbers. So this is what we're trying to do. Have the schools in the world work on the program, our schools work, and then we do a collaboration, and there's a goal. And this is very important in terms of motivation. So we also help the Rotarians and the schools to be able to tell this to the teachers and then through them to the schools. So this is the program, and of course, who runs it? The teachers run it. But it is all managed by Rotarians, and so let's stop for a minute and talk about the involvement of the Rotary here. So first of all, I want to send you the congratulations and blessings from the Rotary Club of Haifa, the host club of the program, and from the Water and Sanitation Committee in Israel, chaired by PDG Avner Fuchs. He could not join us today because they have major issues, challenges that they are dealing with, and business arrangements having to do with the corona. So Avner sends his regards, PDG Avner Fuchs, who has been following and supporting the program from day one very, very ambitiously, and he's very well connected with all the PRIs and so forth. And the Haifa Club has been very instrumental in financing the program and hosting it. So we are now on the third global grant, and it has been hosted and managed by the Haifa Club and so forth. And then we also had 20 clubs in Israel that support the program, and almost 20 clubs and districts around the world. So this is now a very, very big program with 40 clubs. And we have activity going on in the United States, in Canada, in Poland, here with you guys, in Romania, very successful. We just have an MOU with Albania that are joining, very excited. And we have 3 clubs participating from India, also from the Ramle Club, where Shlomo comes from. So it is becoming a very big program. We have waiting of people from Germany, from Holland, from Greece. So it is becoming a very, very big and successful program. Okay, let's go to the program and now start to get real involved in the program itself. So in very short, in one slide, what is the program all about? So this is in essence the key elements. So first of all, we do STEM, standing for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So it is multidisciplinary, combined together in the classroom or at home, depending when there is Zoom, but the content is also related to the curricula. And we will talk about it. This is a very important item. So this is basic. Now, the word STEM is now a very known term around the world, so we use it. We were doing this practice of multidisciplinary application of engineering and sciences to the educational world for over 20 and somewhat years. But it got this buzzwords of STEM, so we call it STEM now, but we are doing it, from much earlier. Now, it is based on water and sanitation because this is the key subject, but remember, it is very important. While we're talking about water supply and pumping from a well or up the mountain for a hilly city, we are talking about the energy and about the way the water pump works and how much electricity you have to put in. So it's a combination of water challenges and solutions on one hand, but of basic science education. When we talk about seawater desalination, we are looking at the quality of water, how much salinity there is in the water, and how do you measure it, and other features and so forth. So the idea is that this is water on one hand, but it is science. So biology and even economy and so forth come into play. So it is based on water and sanitation, but it's not as if we change the curricula and tell the school this is what you need to teach. The school teaches physics. We provide examples based on water. It is therefore relevant to the curricula. And let me stop here and tell you why this is important. Because if you are not relevant to the curricula, you can come into school and maybe get an hour of attention, make a nice presentation, that's okay. But you will not get the hours and hours over the whole year to be able to explain them business in a very serious manner and have them do a research project because they do not have the time, even if it doesn't cost any money. The question is not money. The question is the time and the attention of the children when they are at school. And the teachers regard and watch this very carefully because they want at the end of the year the children to know mathematics and physics and formulas and what have you. So we understood this and we say, all right, you want to teach biology, you want to teach germs and bacteria and so forth. Here, look at the wastewater reclamation. Wastewater reclamation is a facility that's really where the workers are the bacteria. So we tell them about that. So they teach biology, but we actually use the wastewater reclamation as an example. So they understand the two subjects. In terms of the pedagogy and the way we teach, we use very modern approach, doing research work and project-based learning. So they learn and they have presentations and they watch movies and clips and so forth, but they are doing a project. They are required, for instance, to analyze the wastewater situation and the process around Lodz. Is it good? Is it good enough? Should it be improved? What was done? How much money was invested? What is the better way to do it? How should it be done in the future? What can be done with the water after the reclamation? Is it just going back to the river, or do you use it for instance, for irrigation like we do in Israel? So if they do a study like this and they want to produce a report on a wastewater treatment in Lodz, then they have to study everything about it. But the drive, the motivation is that there's a project. When they are finished, they will have a report or a video clip or a PowerPoint presentation or maybe a poster, and they will be able to interact with schools in Israel, and they will know more biology and they will know more about water. But as far as they are concerned in terms of their conduct through the year, they have a project. So they are studying the background for the project. So this puts a focus on the activity. They are engaged. We, of course, let them participate in the choice of the subject. So we will show you, we make a lot of offers as to what you can study, or, of course, the children. But we will let the children and the teacher make the choice themselves. So they are engaged. It is their choice. We can tell you a lot of our experience with it. Adam and other of our coaches can be very informative about how the teacher interact. Of course, you don't let them make a choice just by themselves. You guide them a little bit, but you also listen to them so that they feel they have an impact. So this is the pedagogy. And we do a lot of reverse engineering, namely, how does this work? How do you prevent leakages? We have a wonderful system of prevention of leakages in Israel, and it requires a lot of technology. So we show them some of the systems, and together we ask them to analyze, how does it work? How does this sensor work? What can you do with the data and so forth? So not all of it is just building up something new. Some of it is just analysis of how a machine works. How does a pump work? What drives the water and so forth? So reverse engineering is a very important tool. And the last thing on that items of pedagogy motivation is the fact that we are talking about the future. Now, this is very important. We're not just telling them about the past. Newton was very interesting. But the thing is that if you understand Newton's theory of gravity and motion, you can design a new system. And there is a need to design new systems wherever you are. So that if you pump water to a mountainous city, or you want to be more effective in handling the water, there's always the question of energy. And so this is why this is futuristic. In other words, we are suggesting to the children that in the future, they will have to have better systems. They will have to worry about the solutions to the challenges, and because the challenges are going. So the children understand that we are talking about their future. And this is a very big motivational aspect. And I will show you some examples. Then the last thing in terms of the way we conduct is that we work with all the communities in Israel, Jews, Arabs, Christians, Muslims, Druze, and we have them collaborate in a very unique manner. In fact, the way we collaborate is we don't talk about collaboration of cross cultures, that these are Arabs, these are Jews, and so forth. This is not discussed at all. We are talking about solving the water situation in the future in Jerusalem. And they are Jews and they are Arabs and they live in Jerusalem. They have a common goal, because you cannot have wastewater running in the streets. It will ruin the life for everybody, for Jews and Arabs as well. So when you do that and you put the children together towards a goal of solving a problem or doing a research, then the cross-cultural aspect is dissolves. It goes away because they are focused on the subject. And this is the best way to get them to work together, because if you bring them together to a seminar on peace or a seminar on collaboration, well, they talk nicely for 10 minutes, but right away the conflict comes up and they concentrate on the conflict, and this is usually very challenging. So the way to address it, to have the team collaborate, is to have them work on a common goal. And so now not only do they have water as a challenge, but we also tell them that together with all the technology that we have in Israel, they can help the children of the world. So now they have even a better motivation to work together. So this is what we do on the cross-cultural. So this is basically the concept. And in terms of the sciences, you know, it's physics, it's chemistry, biology, geography, the environment, and history, and so forth, economy, all this comes into play. You see children here are visiting the desalination facility, which now we can do virtually. That's also a very interesting aspect that we developed recently. We used to take our children to these facilities so they can see how a desalination plant works. Now we cannot take them because of the corona. They cannot drive in a bus. They cannot come into the facility. So we bought a very special camera, a 3D virtual reality camera. We go and take pictures in those facilities, and the children can then, with the telephone or with a virtual reality 3D goggles like this, they can look around or look around on the cell phone, and so they feel they are in control. They are touring the facility. So this is very nice. We don't have to take them in buses. They feel more engaged. We can do it now even when they are at home. And moreover, now we can do it with you. We can invite you to the desalination facility. So this turned out to be lovely. It was developed as a solution to the corona situation, but it turned out to be very nice. And here you see those students in the Technion, so it's very broad. In terms of numbers, you know, the program has been going on for 15 years. I started out in 2006. We have more than 100 schools that were involved in the program. We have about 50 schools that will join us this year. We had 15,000 students in the water program. We had about 22,000 students going through our programs in other areas, because we talked about medicine and health and high tech and many other areas as well. We have hundreds of teachers which we trained and they teach. And we provide them with content and teachers training, and we support them in the course as we will support you. So if you have a challenge, if you don't know what to do on the STEM challenge, how to experiment, or we even teach the students sometimes on very crucial, you know, introductory meetings and so forth. It has been recognized by the Rotary Fund as a noteworthy program, and it is developed, as I said, very futuristic, including an approach towards this challenge of knowledge growth. The fact that knowledge grows at such an exponential pace is what makes this program very unique, because we address this change and we introduce very current content. And a good example is a program we developed on Corona itself, which we developed this summer. So we cover the entire thing, and if we have time, we will show you something about it. But this goes to show you how quick we react. So over this summer, we developed a whole chapter about Corona, about RNA, DNA, viruses, bacteria, the differences, how it grows exponentially, virology, how virulent the virus is, including a mathematical model, exponentials and Excel models and simulation and the immune system. Very interesting. So right now, straight from science, it goes to the classroom so that we try to tell the students how knowledge grows. Now, we don't know everything about Corona. It is very new. So here we are. We're telling children, here is what we know, here is what we learned over the last couple of months, and here is what is being researched now. We still don't have any immune, you know, we need to develop a vaccine, and what is the vaccine development process. So they learn about the future. We're not just telling them about the past. Of course, you learn about the future, you have to relate to the past as well. Now, we have a clip here that I will show you. You can have this presentation, which I sent you. You can hear, this is a podcast, which is very interesting. I highly recommend that you go to this link and listen to it. It's a half an hour of a lecture, of a talk about the future. But let's take a quick look of this video, and we'll see if we can see some of this clip. And we will not see all of it, but it's interesting to watch. So you will see how the program goes. So here in the desalination facility, and this is an ancient well that they experiment with and do it, and they build a model and they measure it physically, and they do a physics class. This is teachers from all over the world being taught by our teachers. This is students doing chemistry. This is a water valve facility development. This is agriculture and rain harvesting around the country. So they collect the rain. And here, this is the Antillic well. This is 2,000 years old. And this is a newer well. And now they go to very advanced pipes. And this is our contributors from America. And this is another water quality test. And this is a school that went through the program, and it just changed the school from the beginning. And so this is what the teacher is telling us, that this has transformed the school. And so these are all aspects of the program. Here's a very interesting part, a professor from Germany that is doing research in terms of the residue of stone in the, this is a Roman aqueduct. And so you can tell something about the weather by looking at the residue here. And this is robotics using Lego and so forth. And this is how does a pipe like a valve like this work, and how do you test it? Very sophisticated equipment. So, and then we have recommended equipment to buy. This is a wastewater treatment facility, and these are the physical experiments. We will stop here, but you can see this video, and you will see it's a very interesting. Okay, we have this double, so we will stop this here. Okay, all right. So this is the clip, and you can see it in full, you know, when you see the presentation. Now, what do we provide as HiTeach? We train the teachers, which we wanted to do today, but of course we will wait until you bring them. And it is important that you bring them before we start the school year, because we will give them some content. They can review it. They can ask us questions. The teachers from Romania did wonderful. They went over the presentation and studied it, not just this presentation, other presentations as well. And they studied it and did some homework. And then they came up with a plan for the program. So this is what we do in the teacher training. We give them some ideas for STEM, and we give them support for the e-learning, including Zoom, that we can participate. You can do it by yourself, but we can also participate here and there to give you a feel. As we said, we usually take the students on visits. Now we cannot take them physically, but we do it virtually. And so this takes care of the outdoor research activity. We also work out now something very unique, because you cannot do research work because the children are not at school. And it is also, we came up with about 100 experiments that you can do at home, but for safety reasons, the Ministry of Education in Israel forbid us to guide the students to do experimentation at home, because God forbid something happen, a fire, a flooding, electrification, all kinds of dangers at home. So we are not allowed to teach them to do experimentation at home. This may change in the future, but right now this is the situation. So what we came up with is simulated experimentation on the computer, where you have a physics lab and a chemistry lab and so forth. So we have a lot of experiment that you can do on the computer, and so the kids can stay and experiment with our guidance. And of course, if you do a chemical study, it is based on water reclamation or the water quality and so forth. So there's always the relationship. So we don't stop and we solve the problem, like for instance, for the outdoor research. And then we plan to do the twinning. So in terms of the twinning, we intend to select schools in Israel that are already there waiting, and match it with your school depending on where you are and the subject that you work with and so forth. It doesn't have to be exactly the same subject, but you want to be able to relate to it. And then we will team you up. Teaming is where you meet the teachers first and you get to know them and so forth, exchange ideas. And then when you have a product produced by the children, even if you only have a plan and it's not finished yet, you can start to communicate with the kids themselves. So this is the idea, and it's a gradual process. We will look into it in a minute, but basically we have a plan to support the twinning. And we also recommend, highly recommend, that you will connect with the local industry, with the local education establishment, water utilities, which Professor Brzezinski already started to do, and Marianne was very good at that. And so he has already some connection with some EU and Swedish supported program and other facilities. And here you are with the academia. So this is what we mean. It is very important that this program doesn't become schools and they relate on us on High Teach. We have a methodology, and the methodology says that you have to work with your local industry. Look at your local supply system for water, at your wastewater. If you have a lake, how do you worry about the quality of water in the lake? What happens in the cycle time around the year, winter and summer? What happens with the snow and this and that and so forth? And we want to learn about your challenges, because your challenges are completely different than ours, obviously, so that some of the solution we have may apply and some of the solution will not apply. But it's the attitude that's important, that you look at the problem and you decide you want to serve it, and that you manage the system in a manner where you can do it and you can finance it, and we will talk about it in a minute. So we tell you about it and show you how to connect. And I was very surprised that we had a meeting like this a month ago with the Romanian teachers. We told them about it. I mean, not like this, but a meeting with the teachers. And we gave them homework for 1 month to try and come up with a program. They came after 1 month with a program, with challenges, with things they want to do on research, and with connection with local utility and industry. And it was very, very impressive. We were very impressed with their progress. Okay, as I said, we have a big motivation to harness the children and to tell them, listen, it is your future. You have to work about it and to worry about it and to develop solutions, at least to develop the awareness. Because it takes a lot of money to address the challenges. It will require $40 trillion, a lot of money, not the sum of money that you can raise even from the Rotary. This requires World Bank and governments and so forth. But if you don't do it, then there will be a catastrophe. So every country has to worry about what it has to do. A couple of $100 million or maybe $1 trillion, every country has to worry about it. The country will not dedicate its money unless the young generation starts to demand it. Like you have your demonstrations today relative to abortion, obviously the ruling and all was outrageous, was not reasonable. I just heard about it with my wife who was born in Wrocław, so she is very well connected to Poland. And we heard the news and it sounded very unreasonable to us. And so either way, you have riots and you have demonstration and so forth. This is the way to go. We have a lot of riots in Israel as well. We have, not everybody agrees with the way our government works relative to the corona and other issues. And so we have our riots as well. But the important thing is we want the children to be aware. So they don't just go to demonstration like Greta Thunberg and say, all right, we have to worry about the climate. The idea is that they have to understand what can be done. You can use desalination to provide water. It requires energy. It has harm to the environment. It has costs associated with it, but it provides water. So if you have other sources, fine, as you need something else. But if you don't have water like the situation we have, then, it's a way to resolve it. Or on the other hand, do a reclamation of wastewater, which otherwise is a danger for the environment. So you become aware and then you know what to demand. And so if the children are aware, then they make their parents aware, and then the entire system can work together. Eventually, when they grow, they will be voting themselves. So this is our grand plan. Now, this is not hidden. We are telling this to the teachers and to the students. We make them our partners so that when they make a presentation on how to save water by preventive leakages, they can say, all right, if we prevent so much leakages, here's how much money we can save, and we can use that to support the infrastructure. So they have an idea of the economic balance of things, and that's very important. So this is how we do that. And then, of course, the twinning, as we said, the idea is to get the students to work together and to promote this water challenge understanding and what is the current situation and what can be done elsewhere. And then to collaborate globally, not just with that, but with the whole of the world. Now, the twinning process in itself, we have 7 steps that we start with training the teachers, as we said. And then we said it is very important that you identify areas relevant to the local curricula. So if the school teaches sciences and mathematics and so forth, it's easy. But even if it's a school that has to do with art and history, it always relates to water because water was a crucial need of life. And so you need to find out the connection with the curricula of the school. The school has a goal. If it's an art school, that it wants to produce knowledge about the history of art and so on. And then we can connect that to the water as well. And so this is number 1. The other aspect is we do worry about the science and background before we start to look at projects. So we give them the basic background on the subject as a whole and on the subject that they wanted specifically to study. And then together with the teachers, we developed a STEM project that they decided. For instance, if you look about water pumping and you work, in a city where there's a lot of hills and mountains and you need to pump the water up the hill. This costs a lot of money. The Haifa city is on a hill, big mountain, Mount Carmel. And the people from Haifa pay a lot of money to pump water up to the hill. So first of all, there's the question of who pays for it, or only people on the hill, or all the people in the city, or all the people in the country? Well, we have one interesting solution. Everybody in the country pays for it. It's a unified tariff. But if you use good pumps and efficient pumps, you pay less energy. If you operate the pumps at night when there's no consumption, the tariff is lower on the electricity and so forth. If you use lousy pumps that are old, that are not efficient, then you waste a lot of energy and so forth, and then it costs much more. There was a very big project in Haifa supply system to improve the pumping system. So we brought the children to the pumping stations and we explained that to them. It was very interesting, and we will have a movie, 3D virtual reality movie from that facility, so you can come there too. But also, we did some experimentation in the classroom. So we took some small pumps, also from Lego and from other sources, and also small electric pumps that we took off from cars, from the wipers, the 12 volts safe pumps that are used on the wipers to clean from the rain. And these are very safe and small. So we improvise and use this in the classroom with a battery or a power supply. Everything is very safe. But now the children can experiment with a pump, and they can measure the voltage, the current, and how high the water gets. So you get the energy, MGH, the speed, what the displacement is, force, power, the power, the pressure and the displacement together give you the power, the energy power, and so forth. You can compute a lot of things. And so you get the actual practical numerical value of physics. So on one hand, you teach water, you teach the economy of water and having to keep the system modern. But on the other hand, it's very modern physics for the children to learn, which they need to buy the curricula. But usually what happens is the physics teacher cannot bring to the classroom a current idea, a current challenge, the solution, the connection to the water company, and a water pump with a hose, with an experiment that we tried before that we know works. This is what makes the program unique. And we have literally tens and tens, over 100 experiments like this. So every subject you pick, we can experiment with it. And so you have the theory, you have the application to water, you have how it relates to the curricula, and you also have a hands-on experience. And if they build a pump like this or something like this, they need to put a report, an Excel result sheet, some analysis of the data, a presentation, some statistics, and then a poster, which they have to present. So if they present the poster, they can take a video clip and make sure that they present it properly, not reading from a note, and be able to understand the subject. And by the way, very interesting observation that we have. When you have students like this prepare and they do the research and they have the poster and present it, they're done, they think they did great and everything is okay. When they're all finished, you then ask them a very unique question about the subject. All of a sudden, they understand that it's not very trivial. It's not just quoting from what they learned by heart. Now they have to understand. And what happens is, what we found out, that in those last few hours before the show starts in the exhibition, or during the exhibition, or maybe even a day after, this is when most of the learning takes place. Because what happens is, they do all the preparation, they study all the background, they do the experiment, they do all the labor of putting the report and so forth, and then they build up a picture in their mind. But when you question them and they have to protect it and defend it, then they start to debate about it. And this is when, oh, now I understand this, that, the other. And so it's a very, very important part of the learning cycle. Questioning the students when they are all finished. And you question them out of the box, not necessarily what's on the poster, a different point of view. And that's where what happens. So we also go through training on how to present it. And of course, in our program, we will then have them twin with the schools in Israel. So of course, they will have an opportunity to present, either recorded on YouTube or on Zoom. But imagine how nice it will be when you have a couple of minutes presentation from this school, and then a couple of presentations from the other school, some critical words and feedback from the two sides. So this is a wonderful scheme of learning how to work together. So this is the sharing and the discussion of the report. And if this is successful, and we are hopeful that it will be, then of course we will ask you to spread the word. And after we do it with 1 or 2 schools, by all means, bring all the schools in Poland into the program, and we will have a nationwide competition, and like Romania and otherwise. And then as we proceed, we will have working between schools from all over the world, not just working with schools in Israel. So this is what we have in mind for the twinning process, very thought and designed. Of course, it is not going to work very smoothly. There will be challenges. We have Corona now, but we think that it will be okay eventually. And we are willing to dare. We are willing to take our chances. If there's a problem, we will fix it. Hopefully, you know, this is being evangelist and being daring. So this is what we do. Of course, the facts about the water challenges, you know, this is how the challenge is in America. So obviously it is very devastating around the world. Of course, Trump will tell you that there is no problem at all. And he may be friendly with your president, but that doesn't make the situation as he says. situation is terrible in America relative to water, and they have a lot of things they need to fix. And of course, in Latin America and elsewhere. You know, in California here, where you see it is very bad, there are areas where the land is sinking by 1 meter every year because they are abusing the aquifer. They are over pumping water to produce energy. So devastating situation. And it's all protected by the Constitution because they wanted to encourage people to go to the West in the past. So the idea was that whoever goes there first and digs a well or runs a pipe to the creek is his. It's his water. Now the next guy that comes around has to buy it from him because this was made to encourage the conquer of the West and the pioneering. But now it's very bad because the farmers have a lot of rights and they don't want to give up on them. And they abuse the water, and this is very, very bad. So, you know, it's really a challenge. And, you know, elsewhere in the world, you know, in Africa, more people have cell phones that have access to clean water. And the numbers are terrible. You know, you have almost 1 billion people without access to clean water. And, you know, 85% of people in the world live in the dry area. And, you know, almost 8-10 million people die annually because of lack of clean water. And, you know, even 50% of the water in America on the tap is not worthy of drinking. So situation is very bad. And this is now. Now imagine what will happen in 10 years unless we do something. Okay, so we're switching over now to the solutions. We don't want to leave you, you know, with the feeling that the situation is devastating and we have, you know, a bad mood as we come out of here and lose hope. So what do we do in Israel to address the situation? Because of course we live on the verge of the desert and it has been like this for thousands of years here. So it is in our culture, in our Bible, in our culture for Jews, for Arabs, for Christians, everybody here knows that water is very critical. So it's in our nature to worry about water. And we have a lot of high tech in Israel and very innovative. So we worked out the solution. Israel also, it was very isolated with Arab world around it, so we knew we don't have support from the Arab nations, and most of them don't have too much water. And so we had to come up with a solution. It was very critical. So what did we do? We actually have the following element, and it is all in this one slide. So we have 4 key technologies that we developed and we apply them. First one is the reclamation of wastewater. The water that we use at home, which are very hard to come by, we don't waste them. Most of it is used obviously for sanitary reasons in the toilet and bathroom and so forth. When it goes down the drain, it goes to the reclamation facility. We treat the water, refine it, first, second, and third degree. This is a very sophisticated approach. Physical filtration, biological filtration with bacteria decomposition, and then chemical filtration and disinfection, and then filtration against the residue, and it comes out clean. You can drink it. We do not drink it. We apply it for irrigation. So we have another barrier of protection through the roots and so forth of the trees. So we only irrigate, you know, trees for oranges and stuff like this, not tomato and all that can be hurt by the water. So we have another layer of protection by the tree, but basically we reclaim all the water that we use at home. So this is number one. We have a very big system. We use almost 90% of our water to reclaim them, and it's going towards 100. This is the goal. And it also requires that we maintain the water in the winter time because the farmers don't want to pay for it for irrigation because they have rain. So we have to store the water in big reservoirs from the winter to the summertime. So we have reservoirs around the country, like 8 or 7 and 900 reservoirs spread all over the country. Where they reclaim the water and they store the reclaimed water and then they use it in the summertime. Of course, you pay less for this reclaimed water than you pay for tap water, but it is available and that's a very good thing. So we can have agriculture in Israel, no limit of water, which is very important. The second technology that we use is desalination of seawater. All of our drinking water at home, almost all of our drinking water at home, 600 million cubic meters annually, come from the sea. We actually desalinate, removing the salt through reverse osmosis. It is very energy demanding. We are spending about 4% of the entire energy consumption of the country on desalination. By the way, the desalination is very effective in terms of the usage of energy. It has become available, desalination, and become economical because we reclaim a lot of the energy in the process. So it is very effective. We'll talk about it in a minute. And so this is our supply system along the shoreline and even water to the Sea of Galilee. Now, so this is technology number 2. So we desalinate seawater and we reuse the water for reclamation. And then when we do bring it to the field to irrigate with it, we don't just spend it in flood irrigation or with big sprinklers. We do very effective drip irrigation. So the irrigation goes exactly to each and every growth product, tree, or whatever, in a very accounted for manner, measured and so forth, and what we call the precision agriculture, very advanced, accurate agriculture with monitoring and so forth. So we use the water very effectively. You know, only 3-4% of the agriculture in the world uses drip irrigation, which is an Israeli invention. The rest is using flooding irrigation, so very, very wasteful. So there's a lot of room for improvement. So you see, all of these are very connected because we desalinate water, reclaim it, and use it for effective irrigation. So this is 3 elements. The 4th element is that we really prevent leakages. Now, let me tell you what the leakage numbers typically are in the world. We are usually wasting about 30% of our urban water on leakages. That is, you know, in Poland, in Europe, in England, and so forth. Sometimes there are places where it gets up to 50%. So terrible situation. Now, with more than 50% of the world population living in big urban cities, this means that, you know, 30% of the 50% is wasted. So like 15% of world water is actually wasted. It's a devastating number. We do a lot to avoid prevention. The leakage prevention in Israel as a goal was 6%. We are way past this goal. There are places in Israel where the water leakages is at the level of 2.5% or even less, even 1.5%. So this is a phenomenal number. You do a couple of things in order to do it. First of all, you do tight monitoring with wireless monitoring. So if there's a leak, you know about it right away and you can treat it. We monitor the pipes. If there's a leak, we know how to find it. When we find the leak, without opening up the streets and all that, we find it from the inside or through acoustical means and so forth, and we open up just the last 1 meter or 2 meters right there where the leak is. And then we have ways to fix the leakages without devastating the old cupboards, either all the pipes. We do it from inside the pipes and all kinds of things like this. For instance, there's a new invention like a little submarine that goes in the pipes, and it takes pictures of the pipe from the inside, and if there's a challenge, you learn to write it right away, and that's a new invention that's being developed now. So we prevent leakages. Now, the important thing is that these are technologies, but you know, the fact that you develop them doesn't mean that you use them. We have a system in Israel where we encourage the use of these technologies. Actually, the government subsidizes it. And so we have water utilities that are private, sort of as if privately owned. They're managed as private industries, and they have balances, and they have management, and they have stocks, and they're owned partly by the municipality, but they are managed like business. And so they don't want to waste money. They waste water because they pay dearly for it. Because the money, the water in Israel, and that's a very important foundation, the law is set up properly so that the water in Israel relates or belongs rather to the state. So when you have rain coming over your house, it goes down from the roof to the garden and it should sink. You cannot store water even if it comes from the rain on your house because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the state. When you open up the water at home and you drink or whatever, and then it goes in the drain or in the toilet, it goes down, you cannot collect the money out of the toilet and try to retreat it and reuse it because it doesn't belong to you. You pay as like rent for one-time use of the water. So this is what you pay for, not to get the water. You cannot accumulate it and say it is mine. This is the way that the law is written. And for instance, based on that, all the reclaimed water coming from the toilet can go into a central system. Every town has a water reclamation facility and it gets all the water, and now it can do it effectively because it gets the water from all the facility. And then it can store the water in these reservoirs because it's worthwhile building those reservoirs for everybody. If you do it personally, then two things happen. You don't do it professionally enough because you do it just by yourself, and there's a risk that you may do it wrong. But more importantly, if you take the water for yourself, you eliminate the water from going down to the city central reclamation facility. So they cannot treat the waste if they don't have water. If they only have the residue, then it's a bad situation. So the entire system is set up properly. So what we're saying is we broadly apply all of those technology because we manage the system properly. This is the one last technology that is done in use. We have 4 technologies, and this business of broad application and proper management with a nationwide management system that people come to visit from all over the world because it's really unique. And it has to do with the regulation, with the law, and of course with the practice. It hasn't been like this all along. It's a change that was put in place about 15 years ago, and it's very effective. So these are the things that we tell you about. This is a wastewater reclamation facility, and you can see that it waters the agriculture right away. And these are the reactors that you see here. And this is the desalination facility, which we will talk about. And this is the advanced irrigation and the liquid prevention. And then, of course, we do education to keep the young generation aware of it and prepare for the future, because this is a long journey. And it's not as if we develop these technologies and we are all done. You have to worry about how it will change and what happens in the future. So you'll see it in a minute. So that is the entire package. So in one short slide, you can see all the impact. Of course, when you dive into it, into liquid prevention, there are 5, 6 technologies. It becomes more elaborate. There are many ways to do desalination and to reclaim the energy and so forth. But the key overview is very clear, and that's what we teach the students in Israel. And of course, we will teach it to your students. Now, in terms of the innovative STEM, it's very multidisciplinary, as you can realize. And we do the science testing and the simulation and so forth. But I want to point your attention to this book called Let There Be Water, written by Seth Teagle. And not just because he has been talking to me and he's quoting some of my ideas in the book, but rather because it's a very good book. It gives you a view of everything that was done in Israel, like the previous slide that I showed you, and it talks about the history and everything that transpired in establishing this from the establishment of the country until today. Highly recommended, available on Amazon. You can bring it, you can buy it and read it, and it will be very helpful for the clubs and for the teachers, of course. As we said, we work with all cultures, so we work with Arabs, and we translate some of the content to Arabic. I've seen that you have started to translate with Marianne's help some of our content to Polish, and that's lovely, and we will encourage it, so you will have all the content available, and that's a great idea. In fact, I just spoke today to our leading Arab teacher, and she will have more presentations translated, and that's really lovely. The seawater desalination. This is a first slide of a sequence of 4 or 5 slides that shows you what we do with each subject, with the idea that we want to show you how we apply these technologies as a basis for education. Now, you may have different challenges. If you don't have water shortage, you don't need desalination. And you may have different solutions or different ideas about solutions in the future. So we're not saying that you should use our examples for your cases. We're just showing you how we do it with the subject that we have in mind here. Now, if you have a different situation, like in Florida, we have a challenge of flooding. So you look at the flooding and then look at the solution for the flooding. So we show you what we do with desalination as an example. It's not to say that you should follow exactly this, but this is easy to show you. So we translated this to English, and you can ask us questions and we can tell you about it. So what you see here is the following, and this is now becoming interesting. This is how the desalination facility looks like from the outside. You can see it's a big plant. Inside it, there are all these membranes of reverse osmosis. But when you bring the children to this facility, you can see the children down here, they don't understand what's these round things and how does it work. So we have a lesson and a couple of presentations where we show them that really this is what's happening in the reverse osmosis. It's a membrane. Water goes through it, the salt doesn't go through it, and so forth. High pressure. Well, how do you put water in high pressure? You put two pieces of a membrane and you have pressure from both sides so it doesn't tear apart. And the water comes inside and drains down in the center and goes in a spiral into the center, and then it comes from here. Oh, so the water is coming out of here because it goes through this big pipe. And so they understand the structure. This is a high pressure container, so they understand the structure, and they understand how it is assembled into 45,000 like this to make up the big facility. And all this is put in an e-learning content, which you will have access to. And what happens is, now they understand the principle. So we also bring them to a test facility. This is in the Technion. You can have it in any lab that teaches sciences. And they can have a membrane. There's a membrane here and behind. And the girl is changing the pressure and the temperature. And this is a master student that is showing the girl how the product out of the reverse osmosis is dependent on pressure and so forth and on the energy that you invest. And so she understands the process very sophisticated. So this is a whole picture. We don't bring them just to here and show them this is desalination. They go home and all they're interested is the boys hugging the girls. Here we show them how this works on the inside. And so it's a holistic picture. And so we will show you that as well. And here is an example of how this works with the virtual visit. So this is that facility that you saw, that we took a picture with this very unique camera, and the children can look at it on the phone or with these goggles and look around them at 360 degrees. So let's see if this works now. This is late. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but here just to take a quick look. So we are now inside the facility. And you can see we're explaining, and here's the explanation. And right away, I can move. I do this with my hand here with my mouth. And the children can look around and they can see everything. So if we continue, you see, look, these are the filters, scent filters, and these are drawn that takes place from above. And you see, we walk into the filter and we can see the water here in the bottom, and you can see the water flowing in a scent filter. And you can actually build a scent filter like this yourself. And here's the big pumps, high pressure pumps. And you can walk in the pump hole and you can see another filtration stage. So you're actually visiting, and you see, you look around you. And now you come into this big hole that we saw. And you can see how it's working. And this is my hand when we took this picture. And so you see, this is how this entire process works. And it's very exciting for the children. And all right, we have a child here watching. So let's do this again for the sake of Emilia's child. Okay? Do we have a student with us, Emilia? Okay, we'll proceed.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so here's that visit, and you see here it is. Let's see if it opens up again. No, it doesn't want to work. Wait a minute. All right. Okay. So here we go again. We visit the facility, and here, let me show you something interesting here. You see, so when we were there, watch what happens. What you see here, he was just replacing membranes. This is real life. We were here, and so all of a sudden the child can look at it. You see? And then this is very interesting. This arrangement here, this facility is a very big facility, is a facility that's built to recover energy after the desalination. It reduces 50% of the energy. So, and we build simulators like this from Lego, and they can build it, but they can see it here, and we can explain to them how it works. So this is really very interesting. And so this is how we teach desalination. And of course, you will be able to take pictures yourself and do similar stuff. And of course, most importantly, you can come to our visit because this will be available on YouTube. And the same happens to the reclamation. And what happens after the treatment, you take the water in this purple painted colored pipes, so you can tell them apart from fresh water and from sewage water. So this is in the middle, this is why it is purple. Very costly, a system like this around the entire country. So unless you get all the water and you can do it on a nationwide scale, you cannot invest all this money into it. So this is why it is so important to have the law and to have a nationwide regulation that makes it like this for everybody. It's mandatory. So then you can have drip irrigation of this reclaimed water and the whole system works. So we teach them not just about the reclamation and the chemistry and the biology, but also about the regulatory and the legal aspect of how this was built, how many years it took, how much money it cost, and where is the break-even point and what have you. So this is that aspect. And now if we make water around the sea, we need to pump it all over the country down to the south and also to the Sea of Galilee, where in the past the water came from the Sea of Galilee all the way down to the Negev and the desert. So we're changing that. So here the children are visiting those huge pipes of a new system. You know, a couple of billion Israeli shekels were invested, a couple of $1 billion, in fact, in this system that is being built now, this fifth system, all the way, water all the way to Jerusalem, by the way, including water for Ramallah, for the Palestinians, because they're on the mountain as well. It's been in the making and in the building for over 5-6 years now. It's going to take another 2 years before it's completed. So major program. So the students learn about it, and we bring them to the facilities, and so it becomes very educational. And when you look about reclamation, so there's the biology, and then there's the visit, the bacteria and microscopes and all that, so that you see exponential growth on a logarithmic scale and what happens in the cycles in the reactors. But more importantly, we also tell them that when you use reclaimed water to water the soil and the product, it may have an impact on the soil. In fact, it does. And so the question we put to the children is, what is going to happen in the future if this hurts the water, the soil, and there's damage to the soil? Who are the people in the world going to come to for advice? Because we promote this idea now. And if you will have people in Poland use reclaimed water for irrigation, or people in India, and you will have 200 million people with damaged soil, who do you think they will come for advice to? And we ask the children. And of course, the children say, you know, they will come to Israel because we developed it, we promoted it, we sold them the technology, and we have more experience. So they will come to ask us. And so then we tell them, you know, who is Israel in 20 years' time when they come, you know? Who are going to be the researchers and the experts? And then they...
Can I give a word?
Yes.
I know it's a bit late, but can you go one slide before?
No, I cannot go back, I think, Adam, because it is late. So let's promote and we'll see if the question will go back because it is getting very late. So The STEM is the way we experiment with it, you know, everywhere, including the pressures that's required, even simple experimentation, how high you can suck water and so forth. So we do STEM experimentations, they're very easy. And also on the, the wells and so forth, because while they are antique, there is a lot of mathematical analysis and physics that you can do to understand how it works. So there is this potential. And we bring a lot of test equipment that can work with computers. And so this is really very attractive. This equipment is available on Amazon. It's made by an Israeli company, but it's very affordable. Now we also work with Lego, and it's a little more costly, but you can do wonders with it. And we also work a lot with cell phones. The mobile phones now can have a lot of applications that are very suitable. And we bring the children to the academia, which you have brought academia as well. And here you can see a graduation event in the Technion. And of course, this year we plan to do a graduation event in a virtual manner with all the children from the world. So it's going to be lovely. And they show their project that they did and present posters and ask questions. They do it very professionally. So it's like a science fair or like a real professional conference. So they learn how to do that. And then we bring them together. So this is an experiment we did with a school from Florida that came to Israel. But this is one experiment. But now we will do it virtually. And then eventually maybe also visiting. We do unique things like when we take them to big conferences and technological affairs where it's really very unique. So this is one of the biggest exhibitions in the world in terms of water technology, called WaterTech, held once every 2 years in Tel Aviv. And so what we do then, we tell them about water challenges in the world. We actually have Rotarians tell them about the challenges around the world. And then they visit the show, learn about the technology, and then they do some brainstorming about how to solve it, and they present it in English to the Rotarians. So it's a very, very interesting experience. Everybody is excited, including the Rotarians and the people at the show. The students, of course, get a life experience, and of course, we expose them to the front end. And so when the vice PRI, Babalula, was with us in a school in Gedera, and he asked the children, all right, so what was it for you? What is the benefit for you for the children? It was very interesting. The boy said to him, a 15 years old boy said to him, you know, we learned that we can understand, because it's not just like repeating from school that this is how you solve an equation, but now we make sure that they understand everything. And this is what the take-home message that he got from it, which was a wonderful conclusion. And this is the students, you know, at the end of the conference, and you can see Jews and Arabs and so forth from all over the country. Very exciting. Here you see our supporters from America when we were granted the noteworthy program. This is the grants that we got so far. And today we have another $133,000 to run the entire program, including this pilot element. And we hope to be able to do more. You can see a lot of Rotarians interact with the students. And you can see Barry Rasin, as I told you, saying, you know, this is Rotary. So we must examine how to take this wonderful thing you do here to the world. And this is why we are together tonight. This is what we want to do. Take this to the world, and you can show us how to do it in Poland. We can show you how we do it here, and together we can make it happen. And this is what the student said. This is the student. This is Babalula. And this is what he said to him. He asked, what's in it for you? And the student said, we learned that we can understand things. And you know, today in schools, it is very, very, we have a lot of clubs and companies supporting us. And we have a very detailed program of how to do this 7 steps of twinning that we're not going to go through today, but you can read through it. You have it in a document form. And here it just elaborates what we did. We did about a half of it already with you, because participating in the program, contributing, donating, recruiting the club, you already, so we're someplace here in the middle, and the rest is what we're going to do with the students, with the schools, These are the contributors to the program right now. I must say that we've concluded the collection of donations, in fact, yesterday, from everybody. So we are all set, and now it's just a matter of reporting to the TRF, and we can actually launch the program, because so far we haven't had any funding. This is our connection. Malkiel now is replaced by Ram, but I will send you an updated version. And I will now go to questions. You wanted Adam to add a note someplace here. Where was it, Adam? You want to guide me? What did you want to comment on?
It's not necessary, I think. Due to
Okay,
the time,
so we'll
maybe-
proceed. So, Otarians from Poland, the floor is yours. Any questions, please?
Thank you very much for a nice presentation as usual. So we are closer and closer, let's say, with that subject, of course. But due to the situation which is in each country, it might be that it's going a bit slower than we could expect. So
I would say, Marianne, I would say that it goes differently than what we expected because of the corona. But watch out that it doesn't necessarily go slower. We can take advantage of the time. But the thing is this, we need to make this message to the teachers that our program, and when we interact, it will help them so that they don't think of it as a burden. The idea is that it is going to be help. But in order to understand that, they have to interact with us, and we have to hear from them what they considered as a challenge. And then we will present to them the program as a solution for their situation and not as an extra burden, because of course they cannot take extra burden today.
yes, but the first, of course, barrier is English. It's a language in Polish school. And it is a bit, so we should prepare everything in Polish language, in Polish. And of course, the first we should meet teachers, and the best way is to meet them personally and to choose the teachers which we know personally, of course.
Yes, yes.
So especially in which we just intended to attract two schools which are private schools, let's say, in general, but state-owned, because we thought that it might be a bit easier. And the representative of one school is, but the other school representative is not present today.
Okay, but you know, when he does become available, maybe we can do a one-on-one or with you or with someone else, and we don't need all the form, and we just do a private presentation to these teachers when they become available.
Yes, but before we try, of course, to find teachers, first of all, and I hope that all participants will do their best. On the 6th of November, I have a Rotary Foundation training for all clubs. So I will just present also the possibility to join this project, and maybe that from that moment we will have a bigger audience. But this time I send the information to all clubs in Poland. So
And you will have this meeting recorded, and I will send you the link to the recording.
So okay, as usual, I may say, because we have a recorded meeting from the previous. So if you have materials which are teaching materials for students, teaching materials for teachers, how to prepare the lessons, it would be nice to have a look to. And if you have some experiments, especially if these experiments are virtual, it would be nice, of course, to have.
Okay, so I will tell you what I will show you what we have. Let me share the screen again, and this is what you can see if you look into the link that I have sent you on the content. So we have Google Drive folder for the twinning program. And in the folder, we have content, and this is the content. So what we have there, you see 8 presentations. They're all in English, they all have been translated. One is the presentation we went over now, which is the general view of the program. And the other is the outline, which I showed you as a document on the PowerPoint, but it's not legible. So here it's a nice document. And then you have a presentation about the global water challenge and solutions. So that's one thing. And then you have an example on how it is in Florida, which is different than what it is in. So we understand that the situation around the world, there's different problems in different countries. So you can see this problem and you can create something like this about Poland. And then there is a presentation on wastewater because it's the most important technology. And then of course the desalination, the second most important source, and the leakage prevention and the smart irrigation. And each and every one of those, we teach how we do desalination, what are the key elements and how it works and so forth, how energy is reclaimed and so forth, but also how to do some STEM research on this subject. So you have 4 elements, and another one that is relevant to project that's done at home, how water aerator work and you reduce the consumption of water at home. So these are exactly the content that you can look into, and it's all available for you. It's open on now, and you have the link for it. Now we also added the environmental issue and protection of plastic, prevention of sea from plastic and so forth. So there's another presentation on that. So these are the presentations that we currently have. We also have the set of presentation on Corona, but that's a different subject, and it's in Hebrew. It has not been translated yet, but it will be in the future. So this is all available for you. So you see there's a lot of material for the teachers to read, to translate, to study, and to come up with something that is relevant for Poland with different challenges and different solutions and with connection to local utilities. And what we ask the teachers to do in the first meeting, where you can participate, is after this talk to come up with a plan, because we want to have them with some sort of product towards February, March, so that they can interact with students in Israel. If they don't have a lot of time and they're limited, so it can be a small report, but we want them to have some sort of a product. So you work yourself backwards from that. So you have a time schedule, and then you make the plan and you decide when you want to visit, even if it's a virtual visit, what is the experiment you want to do and so forth. We usually have 1 page of plan, and even if you change the plan through in the conduct, but you start out with the plan. So this is what we encourage them to go over the material, understand it, understand the program, understand the content, come up with a plan, and then show us the plan. And then we can comment, tell you this is good, this is where you're wasting time here, or you can expedite there. And we interact with them and we can share our experience. If they have a challenge in the STEM, we can help them there. All of these things are going to be available. So this is why it's a good time now that they can do it on their own.
Yes, this is available for us because you just gave us access.
Right.
So, okay. But my question was also about the experiments. You mentioned about a virtual experiment.
We are just building up the table now, where we have something close to about 100. Where about a couple of tens of them are virtual that you can do on the computer, and we will gladly share it from you. Some of them are sites from America, some of them are sites from Israel, which will be less relevant. We will have to translate them. But yes, we will make an effort to show you an example, and we will put it here.
Okay. So thank you very much from my side.
But I see Anna also wants to raise the point.
Because once you must have teachers for physics, math, biology, etc. But it is a wonderful idea to have an English teacher. And for students, I think it would be a wonderful experience to prepare the presentation in English, because once again, they will discover their learning is applied to something practical, you know, so it gives them
Absolutely.
practical competency. So
that's right, Anna. You got it. This is exactly the idea. So this is why the English teachers love it, because it's an opportunity to practice the English on another subject. Now, what's nice about it, that it doesn't hurt her and it doesn't hurt the science teacher. The fact that they are dealing with mathematics doesn't matter. You can deal with mathematics in English. That's the whole idea. And so now it becomes very, very multidisciplinary. And this is why everybody likes it, and it's a good opportunity. You're absolutely right. Okay. All right, guys, if you have more questions, you can ask us. We'll be glad to tell you. Adam, if you want to add a comment, by all means, just make sure that you make it short, because this is way over our timing.
It's over your timing. So maybe with Adam, the next time when we meet.
Okay.
We'll comment.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have maybe some perverse question about idea. Idea is fantastic. Save water because the water is lack in the world. But I tell you some practice from my house. I start to collect rainwater last year to the tank to watering my plants around my house. I was controlled this year once from the staff of company. They checked the counter in my house of counter of water. What is so low consumption of water in my house? They changed the counter for another. The second problem is a lot of Polish companies, water and sanitation company was sold to Israel companies. They are owners. So if we start to save the water, they will lose the profits. How to compare it?
Well, it's an interesting question. It's very late, so we'll not dwell on it too deeply. But the one thing that you are right is when they monitor the consumption and they see the consumption going down because you take rainwater, they understand something is wrong, so they come to check. So this is the advantage of this system. Usually there is leakage, not the saving of water. And as I said, in Israel, if this happens, they will come to see what you do with your water, because you're not supposed to do it. Of course, in Israel, you're not supposed to. They don't make a big thing of it. They usually let you collect water, but by the law, you should not. So they come to monitor to see what's going on. And there's a lot of question with reserving water, because if you keep the water, there's the question of sanitary, not very simple just to save the water, even if you only use it for your grass and so forth. So we have a lot of experience with that, and we will discuss it maybe privately if you want. It's a major issue.
I want to say just a short comment about this, and I think, well, the students should, as Amnon said, come to some conclusions that are in some way are sometimes radical and go beyond what now the system can supply. One of them is that the challenges now are global and of course national, and of course that solutions should be, and conclusions about the solution should be centralization in a democratic way, and not just a privatization of each one does what he wants. And of course, due to the English or language issue as well, some of the challenges are a new way to communicate better. Now we see that the world is going in the last few decades to companies that try to keep the knowledge very close to them, instead of spread it and talk about it as much as possible with others, because our brains can collaborate together, and then we can, of course, so we have some kind of barriers that we as a company should change. So just
an opportunity. What you're saying is that this is an opportunity. You're right. The challenge becomes an opportunity to collaborate on a global scale. Thank you, Adam. You're absolutely right. Okay, guys, I think, Marianne, back to you because this is very late. Thank you, Adam, and thank all of our team for being here. Thank you, Shlomo, and of course, all the Rotarians from Poland, and especially Marianne. And also, I want to thank the Haifa Club and the PDG Avner Fuchs. While they're not here with us in practice, they're with us in Seoul, I know, and they send their regard. Marianne, back to you. We can conclude.
Thank you.
So I may say thank you very much. And what about the next meeting? Do you think that in 1 month time could we arrange another?
Yes, by all means, I would welcome an earlier meeting with the teachers if you have it. So I would much rather see a meeting in 2 weeks' time, but you tell me when you get the teachers.
Yes, so, but would it be possible just to join a meeting with when you conduct for teachers from Romania, for example?
We will think about it. I think we will, so for the time being, we sort of secluded it to give them their intimacy so that they develop by themselves. And then we will, of course, make a connection. Yeah, by all means.
So, but I don't think that it will be possible within the next 2 weeks due to the coronavirus situation in Poland.
I don't see the connection at all because they have to do it from home, and if the teachers are working, they by all means can join. They don't need to start working with the students. So the corona situation is independent. Quite to the contrary, they are at home and they are usually available. So my experience is that the teachers, especially in the evenings, are delighted with a program like this because it's unique. So I would suggest don't think in terms of postponing it because of the corona, because let me tell you, guys, the corona is not going away in 1 month, in 2 months, or in 3 months. The coronavirus is not going away before, at the earliest, in March of next year, maybe more towards the summer. So if we start to relate to the coronavirus as a limiting factor, we will not get together before July. By the way, in Israel, we have a timeline now already for a vaccine that will be readily available in the summertime next year, in June, July. So we know where the end of that is. But before that, we have to learn how to live with the corona. And I think we're writing the book about it. By the way, to conclude, I also want to tell you in terms of opportunity, everybody is talking about the concern in education in terms of the children losing the content and maybe losing the school year and all that. I say this is completely wrong. I think the children today in the schools are gaining a tremendous experience, much more important than mathematics and physics and even water. They are learning to work in agile way, in a different environment. The world is going through a turmoil. They are coping with it. In 10 years' time, they'll be able to tell, we lived through that period. We know how to respond to a major challenge, a major plague around the world. And so they will be more flexible, more adaptable to change. I think it is all for the better. All of it is for the better. And we just need to take the right attitude and look at this as an opportunity and not as a hinder and shy away from it. This is my own personal feeling.
At least they would know what not to do.
Okay, guys, I think we had enough of the philosophy. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating. And we would certainly have a meeting in another month, but I hope that we can have it before that. And we will communicate, Marianne, and decide.
So thank you very much. So thank you very much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too. Good luck.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Cześć, Szlomo.
Thank you to all participants. Cześć, cześć.